I like horror games. I really like horror games. I'm being in my 30s now. Translation, I'm old as shit. This has provided me with ample time to experience a multitude of horror titles. Hell, I've even played Illbleed.
Rachel! I've missed you so. You appear to be okay. Oh, that's a relief. At last, we can be together forever. Let's go back to hell.
But one series that I neglected to play was Fatal Frame, a Japanese survival horror franchise from the early 2000s made from the same mold as Resident Evil and Silent Hill. I stated in a previous video of mine that I've wanted to play these games for a while, so that's what I'm going to do. Alright, through this door I guess. Fatal Frame, or Project Zero as it's known in Europe and just Zero in Japan, released in 2001 for the PS2, being developed and published by Tecmo, and is the subject of today's video. I was extremely excited going into this because while Fatal Frame didn't perform all that well commercially, which probably wasn't helped by it having more aliases than a government spy, it did manage to garner a cult following, and that only happens when something really resonates with a lot of people. So I finished the first entry, and I'm now here to pose and answer a question. Is the first Fatal Frame any good? Yes. Yes, it is. You can go now. In Fatal Frame 1, you take control of orphan Miku Hinasaki, who has come to the abandoned and dilapidated Himuro mansion in search of her brother, Mafuyu. Mafuyu himself having come to locate his missing tutors, and of course he is disappeared in the process. Miku arrives at the manor armed with her grandmother's trusty camera. Yes, I said camera. And you soon discover the mansion is haunted. Now, wherein Resident Evil would now have you battling decaying zombies and test tube dinosaurs, and in Silent Hill you run from horrifying shame boner demons, in Fatal Frame the main threat is spooky ghosts. The ghosts are a manifestation of a curse cast upon the mansion, which causes any who die within the mansion's souls to become trapped and force their spirits to remain. This of course makes the ghosts pretty cranky. There are no guns or melee weapons in Fatal Frame, instead you use Dear Grandmama's magical camera to fight back. This is the camera obscura, though apparently this wasn't yet coined in the first game and it's just referred to as the camera. It's capable of exorcising the ghosts and freeing their spirits, and this forms the main gameplay loop. Explore creepy mansions, snap scary ghosts, and solve simple puzzles. I say simple puzzles, though there is one in particular, where you need to input numbers that you find in a note. The problem is the input mechanism is in Japanese kanji, and nowhere in the game is this translated to you, so if you don't read kanji and you don't have an internet connection to look this shit up, then you're basically screwed. What do I do? You can see already how this game tries to set itself apart from its peers. Fighting ghosts with a magic camera, well, it's certainly different, but is it enjoyable to play? Surprisingly, yes. The camera feels a little clunky at first, but you'll soon be popping paparazzi shots like a pro in no time. You keep the ghosts in your sights to fill up a meter, then you take the picture. How full the meter was before you took the picture determines how much damage you then do. The camera can be upgraded to extend the length of this meter as well as the speed it fills up and the range of the camera. You can also add auxiliary functions which add a special, unique ability, like paralyzing ghosts or the ability to reveal them when they turn invisible, though these are tied to consumables and are finite. Another tactic the player has is the ability to snap the ghost just before the attack. This will do extra damage to the ghost and push them back, serving as a kind of counter-attack. You can also change the film type, with different types doing more damage. You need to alternate between snapping ghosts and fleeing like a coward if they get too close, and popping a health item if you take damage. I didn't get bored of this system because of how fresh it feels, though I do have one gripe. After you beat a ghost, it plays through a little death animation. This plays for every ghost and it's unskippable. This is fine until you've seen it around 50 times. Where this becomes most egregious though is in the third act of the game, where it begins flinging multiple ghosts at a time. And if you kill more than one ghost with one shot, well, rather than just clumping the animations together, it instead plays through them one after the other. This is fucking annoying. Aside from this though, the game controls well enough, and the camera is fun rather than frustrating. I came into this fully expecting unyieldy tank controls, but was pleased to discover this was not the case, with very modern feeling controls. The ghosts all have creepy and distinct designs, making almost all of them feel different and unique. Each act gets a main boss ghost, if you will, that you encounter several times throughout the chapter, with smaller, less dangerous ghosts popping up along the way. Most of these ghosts have backstories found through notes, and I just think this is so cool. And of course, it wouldn't be a Japanese horror game without a spooky little ghost kid. To be honest, the experience just felt like a movie tie-in of Ghost Ship. When you aren't fighting the ghosts, you're exploring the mansion, and this is a pretty nerve-wracking experience. The entire game takes place in the manor, which feels like Spencer Mansion with a Japanese skin, and most of the play area is accessible after about the end of the third act, so there's a fair bit of backtracking throughout. However, the mansion is so atmospheric and creepy that even going back through previously explored areas can still feel like a harrowing experience, with new sounds like creaking floorboards, footsteps in the distance, and even eerie whispering all melding together to evoke the feeling that you aren't alone in this room you thought you'd cleared. Ghosts rarely respawn in the beginning, so these sounds rarely manifest into anything more tangible or dangerous, but the sound design is so top-notch that you can't help but feel an overwhelming sense of paranoia, and even panic when a ghost finally does materialize and charge straight towards you. All the while moaning, gasping, gurgling, and wailing. If the ghosts were no good, then the game would be no good. Thankfully, they are some of the most memorable enemies I have encountered in recent memory. They are all fittingly terrifying, and the sounds they make are eerily haunting. Every ghost feels unique, and I rarely felt like I was fighting the same ghost twice. Until the later acts. Enemy ghosts include all the classic Japanese horror tropes, like headless priests, a well girl, someone in need of a serious haircut, a dude with a demon mask, and a couple of floating heads thrown in for good measure. And of course the creepy girl I mentioned earlier. Some of them even have different mechanics you can implement during combat, such as a blind girl who works via sound and she can't locate you if you walk and stay quiet. Allegedly. There aren't just enemy ghosts either. While exploring, you will see ghosts throughout the environment. These ghosts are non-hostile, for the most part, and serve to make previous rooms feel new, and are even used as storytelling devices. You can photograph these ghosts to fill an album, which has a completionist element to the game. Filling the album will reward the player with things like new outfits, but some of these ghosts are rather difficult to photograph, with some real blink and you miss it moments, so you probably won't get them all on the first playthrough. There are even hidden ghosts, their presence indicated by sound cues and controller vibration, offering extra incentive to explore the mansion thoroughly while also encouraging replayability. The ghosts begin to feel less varied towards the later acts as the game starts to throw more of them at you, which to me just felt like the game was trying to rush me towards the end. It really interrupts the pacing, which before felt near perfect. This makes the last two acts feel pretty mid for me, and I personally feel the game would have probably benefited from being one act shorter altogether, because it really started to drag. There's also a very clear and noticeable difficulty spike towards the end, where the ghosts appear more frequently and in greater numbers. This isn't an overtly difficult game. I died maybe 3 or 4 times, with one of them being a rather cheap insta-death. However, with the rate which the enemies were appearing, I found myself quickly burning through resources faster than I could find them. I understand they're trying to get the point across that the gates of hell are bursting open and all the spirits are spilling out, but it's definitely a scarier and more tense game when the ghosts were fewer and further between. And it made the ghosts feel more special and unique. When you just fire them at me in droves, I quickly get desensitized. I didn't find the story to be particularly engaging either, with nothing really grabbing my attention until around the third act. I was much more focused on the backstories of the ghosts, which felt infinitely more interesting to me. It isn't a bad story, like I said, it's just not a great story. I won't spoil too much, but the premise is that a ritual was performed at the mansion with the intention being to close the gates of hell, which I guess the mansion was built on top of. Kyrie, the little ghost girl, was a part of this ritual and was meant as a sacrifice, but it went awry and was never finished. This cursed the manor instead. The girl's spirit was split into two, with her younger, kinder self desiring to finish the ritual, and her older, evil, slightly more creepy side ain't so big on that option. Turns out the ritual was never finished because she fell in love with a boy, and so it failed because she wasn't entirely devoted to it. Miku's brother also just so happens to look like this girl's long-lost love, which makes things about as awkward as you'd expect.
We'll always be together.
So good and tasty?
That's all I'll say about the story. Like I said, not too bad, it just didn't have much that really stood out for me. I will give bonus points though for this scene, which made me think of Tobey Maguire, which is always a good thing. Also, I'd like to note that this game came out before Spider-Man 2, so I guess Sam Raimi was a fan. I think this game is great, and I can't believe I slept on this series so long. It's one of the most unique and engaging horror games I've played, and I found myself being unable to put the controller down. The enemies really make this game for me. I only played through the story once, but there's loads more to do with harder modes being unlocked. You can collect all the ghosts, get different endings, costumes, there's a sound mode, a battle mode. Man, I miss the days when you could unlock all of this stuff rather than having to navigate a paywall. Yep, the industry has certainly lost its way. I'd highly recommend this title to anyone who enjoys atmospheric horror, or just anyone looking for a unique experience in general. The way I understand it, the first game is considered the worst in the series, and if the worst game is this enjoyable, then I can't wait to check out the other titles. I could say more about this game, but to be honest with you, I'm just trying to rush this video out now so I can move on to the second game. So I'm gonna go now. It's safe to say the Fatal Frame cult has gained another fervent follower. Hi everyone, I want to thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. If you did, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. That really helps me out. Let me know in the comments what Fatal Frame means to you. Are you a series veteran or are you a newbie like me? I heavily encourage you to play this game if you haven't played it before. I promise you won't regret it. It's really fun. But I'm about out now and go play the second entry, so expect a video on that soon and keep an eye out. I'll see you all next time, people. Thank you for watching, take care, and have a wonderful day.